Good afternoon again. My name's Joseph Magero, consumer advocate with Campaign for Safer Alternatives. So earlier in the week, we got invited to the Senate to make submissions on the new tobacco control bill that seeks to regulate the new emerging products, such as pouches and electronic cigarettes. Unfortunately, the bill seeks to sort of outlaw the product by increasing the taxes and putting labels that are not related to the product whatsoever. So my part was to go explain to the Senate why they should separate tobacco products from nicotine products and why the taxes need to go lower than what has been suggested in the bill.
Because it is true they want to equivalate vaping products with cigarette smoke, with cigarettes, basically. They want to equivalate vapor with cigarette smoke.
Yes, and in doing so, they require the same labels that are on cigarette packs to be on electronic cigarettes and pouches as well. Images of one on nicotine pouches, which does not even relate because there's no smoke and you don't inhale anything with pouches.
Exactly. So have you got an example of a graphic health warning? Because you showed us a few, didn't you, a while ago, of what kind of things they want to put on an oral nicotine pouch, for example?
Yes, they want to put lung cancer warnings. They want to put images of children, unborn babies affected by nicotine, and these are not. There's no scientific evidence to back such labels on the product.
So they want to put lung cancer warnings on non-combustible nicotine alternatives. So
That's
nothing that is inhaled.
There's no smoke in this case, and there's no tobacco, and they want it to be branded a tobacco product.
Which makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you went and gave an oral submission. Do you want to summarize what you did on Monday at the Kenyan Senate?
Well, I made submissions. I took physical copies of submissions from ARA, from ourselves and other consumer organizations like INCO, supporting our argument on the bill. And the good thing is that the Senate did listen, and we're hoping for a positive outcome on it.
So when will you hear what the outcome is? What are the timelines so people know?
They haven't given us any timelines. This could take up to 6 months or something like that.
And I'm curious to know, so, if people want to switch or stop smoking, but they can't stop nicotine, for example, or they need to just wean themselves off cigarettes more gently, what stops people from using alternative products in Kenya then? It's proposed regulations like these, right?
Well, I mean, at the moment, there's a lack of awareness. I mean, people who smoke don't know much about these products. We are restricted in giving out information. And also the availability of the product at the moment is it's only available in the black market because it was suspended earlier on by government.
So you mean the oral nicotine pouches?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're easily available in the black market, unfortunately, at the moment, because as much as we keep delaying with the regulation, people that use the products end up going to the black market. So the black market is thriving at the moment because the products still may find their way into the country. That's why we are advocating for a regulation that makes sense for them to be able to be made available and smokers to access them legally.
So Joseph, you say that they don't really have a lot of knowledge on these specific or on the safer alternatives. Do you think if they know and follow scientific research on safer alternatives that they might have a different opinion?
Absolutely. I mean, that is why we were campaigning for public awareness campaigns. I mean, even a regular doctor in Kenya does not know that nicotine does not cause cancer. So both stakeholders and doctors give information that is incorrect. And that ends up discouraging anybody that would want to use a product from using it.
So it sounds like there needs to be a big education campaign from the government and from other public health institutions to educate physicians and people, smokers, on the fact that, it's not nicotine that's going to give you cancer or in fact cause disease, it's the cigarette smoke.
Yes, especially people who smoke, because those are the ones who are most affected by such kind of policy.
Mm. So would you say
Right.
that then, prohibition and banning these products just leads to an increased illicit market? So it just makes the illicit trade grow.
That's what's happening at the moment. We have products from all over, and we don't know where the product is coming from. We don't know who's bringing it in the country, and we don't know what's in the product. So I personally believe that if government was to regulate them, then we would have people, they would put standards in place where we would have products that we know where they're coming from, and the nicotine content is also regulated as well.
Mm.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. It's true that if you regulate a product, that you can put a quality standard control on on the products, keeping it away from any potential further dangers of well, black market, unknown chemicals, and so forth. So, um, yeah, sorry, I was,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
Yeah,
exactly.
go
That's
ahead.
the whole important thing about regulation is, you do have that quality stamp to say actually these materials and ingredients, these limits, like you said, Joseph, the nicotine limits, everything's in a controlled, securely tested framework.
Right.
And then you're
that's
back to
actually
studies. Mm.
that's actually quite a great point. That if you heavily restrict, if you heavily, yeah, like soft ban some nicotine alternatives would uh, wanting a nicotine cap on it, so regulate per regulation, lowering the nicotine, would it not actually increase the difficulty of regulating black market products if you do restrict or heavily restrict the product while also wanting to regulate it?
Like I didn't understand the part where they were asking people who sell nicotine pouches to put stickers on every nicotine pouch, a health warning on every pouch. I mean, it's not even that putting ink in your mouth could make you sick. I don't know why they were putting such clauses in the bill. It's sort of like they're looking to ban it indirectly.
So if you're someone who's a smoker and you want to try something else, but you can't completely quit, but you want to reduce your exposure to cigarette smoke, where would you go to seek, information that's truthful, there's not, it's reliable, backed by evidence? Like where would you go?
At the moment, any awareness or any information that's accurate is online. We've been restricted from putting out stickers or posters because they classify that as advertising. So it's really a difficult situation to be in, especially us as advocates trying to educate some of these smokers on the products.
Mm. And how
Right.
about your own journey, Joseph? Because I know that you used to be, was it quite a heavy smoker?
Yes, I almost did a pack a day. I started
Okay.
smoking at 15 years old in high school. I
Mhm.
quit smoking. It's been 5 years now, back and forth. But I rely on pouches. My product, I get it from uh, somebody sends it for me from Sweden. So for
Ah.
myself, I'm sorted. Yeah, so I pay heavy taxes on my pouches, which doesn't make sense because a pack of cigarettes goes for about $3.
Mm.
And right now, if you're looking to get pouches, you would spend close to $9 for one
Wow.
can.
And
Right.
that's if you order it from somebody from Sweden, that's what you're paying.
Yeah. Yes. Although there's some illicit markets around, but I don't rely on those because I don't know where the product is coming from.
Exactly.
Right.
Hmm. How about you, Brian? Because you were a smoker, weren't you? How about your journey?
Um, yeah, well, I actually started fairly late, but
What, smoking?
Yes, yeah. I only started smoke well, in comparison to what I usually hear, like Joseph that started smoking in 15, only started smoking at the age of 19, 20.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a terrible habit that caught on very quickly.
Mm.
And I eventually reached to a packet a day, sometimes even more. And
How did you find out about vaping? How did you make that switch? And do you feel better for it?
so one of my friends introduced me to a machine, and at first it didn't take off too well, but once I had my own personalized machine and everything that worked for me and the flavor that I enjoyed, um, I immediately quit. It was a once-off thing, and I haven't smoked since.
And
And
how did your health feel?
absolutely, I did feel very immediate effects, but long term, I can't even remember how it was to feel bad the whole time. I do remember feeling sick constantly, especially after more than a packet a day. That would usually feel very tight on my chest, and I haven't had that feeling since. So I can't really say that. I remember it very clearly. I'm just glad to be rid of it.
So for your health, it actually made it better rather than worse. So you feel better and healthier.
Yes, yes, no, absolutely.
And I
Me,
presume, yeah.
me personally, once I run out of pouches, I still smoke from time to time.
Mm.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But it keeps
Unfortunately.
you, but when you have them, you don't smoke.
No, I don't smoke. When I have pouches with me, they serve the purpose, so I don't need cigarettes.
Mm.
Right.
What do you think that big tobacco companies can do to help people switch away from cigarettes to improve their health? Anything that they can do?
Uh, well, in Africa, I think first of all, they should make the product available. I mean,
Mm.
there's very few countries where the industry is providing products. And also, I think it should be they should look at it, government should look at it as a win for public health. The fact that the industry is trying to introduce products that are less harmful, I think it's a win for public health because ultimately what we're looking to do is save lives. They shouldn't frown on it and look at it as they're trying to make money off of it because these products are here with us. Government should give it a chance, same as it's been happening in other countries like Sweden and England. We should emulate such countries and make the product available.
Because surely if these people being policymakers in government or an industry, they should read reports where you're seeing that smoking prevalence goes down as soon as a government allows the use of alternative products. You do see smoking prevalence and disease prevalence related to smoking go down. So the evidence is there, but you need to just read and digest the data. But the reports are now being published. So, it's difficult to argue against that data.
That's right. Well, I mean, once we make this data available, they always ask, where have you got it from? And if we say it's from the industry, they don't accept it. I mean, like on Tuesday, for example, when I was at the Senate, that was the first time the senators had the word harm reduction. They've never had such a word before. So it was hard for me to explain this is harm reduction, this is nicotine, and this is tobacco, and this is what causes you to die from smoking. So they were hearing these things for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think I don't know how if we should create a way where we could sit down with policymakers, maybe in a conference or something of the sort, especially people who are in the health committee, and
Mm,
educate them on such reports and show them the statistics, and maybe that would help in easing their stance on regulation.
mm.
Right.
That's really interesting. That's a really good point. Brian, have you got anything else to say about Kenya or anything?
If I can reiterate your question earlier about what industry could possibly do,
Mm.
um, I don't necessarily industry and government stakeholders are unfortunately don't see eye to eye very well. However, I don't think that government should necessarily mislook any scientific evidence because while having the most harmful nicotine product available, cigarettes, um, I believe that there should be like in stages or levels, if you can say, less harmful products available for people who smoke to wean off, or just redirect the nicotine addiction. So as to still be well, sometimes it's just difficult to call turkey. Unfortunately, people can't do it. So to have different levels of or lower levels of harm, products of lower levels of harm available for people to still have um, nicotine available because essentially it's not the nicotine that causes the harm, but the combustion. So if
Mhm.
they have the most harmful product available on market, that they should also have lesser harmful products available also on market for people to wean off or just direct the addiction. Moving on to Egypt's recent policy updates. In April 16, 2022, Egypt decided to lift the ban on electronic nicotine delivery systems, allowing the legal sale and distribution of e-cigarettes and vaping products. So, my question to you, Joseph, is what was the main reason behind Egypt's decision to lift the ban on vaping, and how do you think it will affect people who smoke in the country?
Well, I mean, the decision in 2022 was primarily driven by economic factors and a desire to regulate the growing black market. So, lifting the ban opened up the possibility of generating significant tax revenue for the country. As for the impact on smokers, Egypt has, I think, over 15 million smokers at the moment. So increased access to safe alternatives will reduce the health risks of smoking, and ultimately it will save lives in the country.
Good start.
Mm.
Well, now that vaping is legal, what new rules or regulation do you expect to see for e-cigarette products in Egypt?
Well, at the moment, there's a 14% VAT on disposable vapes. There's also requirements for manufacturers to register with I think, the Egyptian Organization for Standardization and Quality to ensure product safety. And also, safety standards are now enforced to protect consumers and combat counterfeit products.
That's actually really amazing. Quality control is absolutely a must-have in the industry to keep the product safe.
Mhm.
That's great. Um, so, Joseph, how can the government ensure that vaping products are safely regulated while preventing youth and people who don't smoke from starting to use them?
Mm. Um, well, I think first they can start with age restriction and strict enforcement of that. And also they could do some marketing and advertising restrictions where you don't market these products where there's young adults. The the awareness campaigns, the public awareness campaigns should be directed to people who smoke and not people who don't use nicotine or smoke cigarettes at all. I think that's a way you can prevent non-smokers from using and also prevent the youth. Just as they've done with alcohol, they could use the same policy on nicotine products as well.
That response is kind of exactly what cigarette regulations are looking at the moment, yet there are still such uh, a big growing population, well, a youthful population of cigarette smokers. So do you think that um, any further regulations or other regulations are necessary more than more than cigarettes?
For the regulation, I think the more you try to hide these products from the general public, the more young people will want to experiment with them. I mean, they've done that with drugs. I think we shouldn't treat nicotine products as products which are out there to cause an addiction. The public awareness should still remain focused on people who smoke. It's them who need the information, and at the moment, they don't have that information with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I know from my personal experience, having worked in the vaping industry before, that we have very strict policies against selling to anyone under the age of 18. Um, but we were very forceful to enforce that policies and restrictions, where in corner markets and well, corner stores and supermarkets, we've seen that kids can very, or youth, children can very easily pick up cigarettes or vaping products or any other alternatives very easily in these stores. So would it help to have specific smoking cessation centers for these kinds of products? Or would you
Is that
think that it would be better just to have them widely available all over?
uh, centers for nicotine products? I think that sounds a bit expensive. My take is I believe the products should be available where cigarettes were sold, because if you don't put them where cigarettes are sold, somebody who's looking for such products, if they can access cigarettes downstairs in a store, they would rather go for the cigarette instead of having to travel miles or order online. I think the product should be placed where cigarettes are sold. That will even encourage more smokers to try them and shift from combustibles.
Hmm.
Um,
My thoughts.
I had a question actually
Something.
about public health campaigns. Um, what role do you think public health campaigns can play when it comes to reducing smoking prevalence, improving the public health outcomes in a country? And do you think that the Kenyan government can do more to use public health campaigns or public awareness campaigns?
Well, I mean, you see, with the FCTC, which most countries are party to, restrict some kinds of campaigns because they believe it's some form of advertising. But I believe if we're able to share scientific evidence on its own without displaying products, it would go a long way in educating people who smoke.
Mm,
So how we could do this, I'm still thinking about it. I don't know, because how can you gather smokers? I had one idea of maybe in cigarette packs, if they could put a small leaflet that gives you information on safer nicotine products. I think that would help. That's something that the government should consider. Maybe if the industry should be made to put information on electronic cigarettes or nicotine pouches or even heated products, if they could put this information in packs. So when somebody who smokes, if they buy a pack of cigarettes, then they're able to access this information. It would help
mm,
in helping them to switch. And it would also not be advertising, because somebody who does not use cigarettes will not see this information.
mm.
That is
It's a
an
good
idea I
idea.
feel
I like
they
that.
should consider such an idea. Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so to also support what Joseph was saying, um, you basically want to provide information to to the person that needs it, even though they might not know that there are alternatives available to help them.
Mhm.
So the smoker or the person who smokes might be oblivious to any possible options that might help them.
Mhm.
So providing them where they obtain their nicotine product of choice is obviously then the best way of reaching the person that needs it and keeping away from the person who doesn't need it.
Right.
That's a very great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
In terms of regulation, I think due to strong influence from WHO, many countries in Africa maintain stringent regulation on, or even outright bans on alternatives. So I think if we can find a way to get a common ground with WHO on safer nicotine products, that will be the ultimate game changer.